Wow, about this, a surprisingly competent, a surprisingly cohesive and understandable, easily digestible Sam Houston transfer portal class. Who would have thought it? And there's more money coming into the football program, too. We're talking about it all right now. Get in here, sound off, have a take, and don't suck. The Bearkat Bites podcast is live. I am your host, Fobbs, the writer. I write the weekly newsletter about Sam Houston. We're the only independent media covering Sam Houston football year around, and we sat through a lot of crap last year. Go ahead and reward us, please. Please say thank you. Buy us a cat's coffee. The links are in the bio. You can see the newsletter. You can buy us a cat's coffee. It's only $2. $2 to keep the lights on here for us to keep going on and doing what we do. How about that, right? Go ahead and hop on in there. As always, you can become a annual subscriber. You're going to get the Big Sam t-shirt. We got a couple of things here for you. If you were one of the ones that missed out on the Sam Houston, the Slam Houston pullover, too bad. Hey, look, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, homie. It's gone. It's completely gone. As we talk about what might be the greatest roster class ever for Sam, the greatest portal class ever for Sam Houston. This might be the best one they've ever done. Now, notice, I didn't say greatest recruiting class overall. I'm very specific in what I'm saying. I said the portal class, okay? Very specific. Do you think that this is the greatest portal class ever for Sam Houston? By the way, this ain't no grape soda. You know, we over here drinking the St. Arnold. Got the, what is this? It's a citrusy and bright Eclipse IPA. St. Arnold. You know, I used to live right by the St. Arnold Brewery when I lived over in Fifth Ward inside the Loop here in Houston. And they've always got some great beer, right? They've always got some good ones. I usually don't drink a ton of beer. I like more the crafty stuff. I like Blue Moon or the bitch beer, as people will say. I don't care. I need a beer with some character. All right. I ain't old school. I can't just come up there, drink a dang Miller Lite and call it a day. Nah, I need something different. It's a citrusy and bright, very light, complex flavored IPA. I like that. I usually go more herbal, if you catch my drift. But every now and then, we get one of these. It's Texas' oldest craft brewery, and I love what St. Arnold has. I love that. I love this particular beer. It is called Eclipse IPA. You all should try it. I highly recommend it. But let's get into it, man. Last year, when Sam Houston, you know, Casey Keeler, he goes to Temple. Phil Longo is hastily brought in. He's got to hire all of this staff. And then even after he hires that staff, one of them leaves. One of them leaves. The wide receivers coach, remember? He left to take a high school job. So it was like well into the spring and summer. They were still bringing people in. And the portal class kind of reflected that, didn't it? It was a lot of guys that, you know, there was Jameer Diaz, there was CJ Brown, there was Cecil Powell. There were guys. I mean, sorry, not Cecil Powell, but CJ Brown, you know, Keelan Cox, guys like this, Dylan Frazier. There were guys who were interesting. We talked about that last year. There were these names. But overall, the approach felt desperate. The approach to the portal last year felt rushed. And that's not a knock on the team. That's not a knock on the coaching staff. If you get hired, you're starting behind the 8 ball. You're pretty much going to pick who you can get. And that's why when the team was struggling last year, and some of you were ready to fire Freddie Autry-Lindsay, the defensive coordinator. Some of you are ready to get rid of Phil Longo. And I told you all, yeah, there's a few red flags here. I will hear those arguments. I'll listen to that. Excuse me. But they haven't even had a full offseason. This program had not had a full offseason to get things right, you know, the coaching staff. And also, you know, there was just, they didn't play at home, all these sorts of things. All of that was happening. So now we fast forward after the 2-win season. And there's a few increases in the budget we'll talk about here at the end. It seems like it's much more of a cohesive roster plan. Get in here and sound off. What do y'all think about this? I'm going to run through some of my thoughts and then we'll talk. We'll look at the comments here. It looks like a much more cohesive roster plan, okay? It looks like they are focusing on certain things, right? Especially in the trenches, right? Especially down there in the trenches. That's where I want to start tonight. The defensive line. If you're excited about that, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to, hold on. Where are we at here? Where's my in the trenches? Where hang on, where'd that go there? Where'd that go? Hold on, bear with me, guys. There it is. Focus on the trenches. There we go. Sorry about that. There's been a focus on the trenches. The defensive line's exciting. In addition to Dylan Frazier, Brody Henderson, Darian Jackson, Shavon Boyd, you've now got guys coming out of NC State. You've got guys coming out of these P4 programs. You got Dimitri Nicholas out of Maryland, Justin Terrell out of NC State, Zion Taylor, the defensive end out of Houston. And it goes back to what I've been saying. I don't know why this isn't coming up. I don't know why this isn't staying up here. I'm not sure what's going on. Bear with me here. Hang on, bear with me. I don't know what's going on with this timer. I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but we're going to go ahead and power through this. There's a focus on the trenches, right? I don't know what's going on with my lower thirds right now. It's always something going on in the land of a million drums, right? There it is again. Whatever. But in the trenches, they are bigger, 300 pounders, which were any of those guys 300 pounds last year? I don't think so. Other than the 10-sack game from Dylan Frazier, which I got to go see, thanks to you guys and your support, we got to go see and cover that against Oregon State last year, right? Other than that, what the hell did this defensive line, even do? What did they really do? It took them forever to finally figure out how to get to a quarterback. A lot of that, they were starting younger guys, true freshmen, running out guys, giving them playing time, like Brody Henderson and these guys. Keelan Cox did not work out. He had left the program, the Texas Southern transfer. But this is much more exciting. There's beef along that defensive line, man. Now, as far as the offensive line, I'd like to see a little bit more. Now, I know that they're offering guys. They're starting to bring a few people in and things like that. Brock Stooks from NC State, he's a good one. That's somebody that I am very, very excited about. You got Nathan McClellan out of College of Idaho, although I think he's more of a depth guy. He's not a 300-pounder. But along an offensive line where you lost James Dawn, Luke Eckert, William McCullen, Red Larson, Colt Dietrich, who ended up going over here in Washington. I don't know, crazy, right? Kevin Kalanji, these guys are gone. You're going to have to really build up that offensive line, not just the starters, but depth. Not just them, but depth. So still kind of concerned about that a little bit. But, man, I love that defensive line. I love what they are doing. Holy cow. I absolutely love what that defensive line is doing. I love what is going on with that, All right, I think I figured out what's going on. I think I figured out what's going on here, guys, with my lower thirds. I finally figured out what's going on. There we go. There we go. It should stay up. So the trenches look good. The trenches look pretty good right now, man. So that was very, very interesting. I thought that was pretty cool. There's a lot of P4 guys. This is why I say that this is a much more comprehensive and cohesive roster building plan compared to last year. To me, the plan seems to be bring in a lot of P4 freshmen from the Power 4 conferences, right? Who got little to no playing time, but they made it to the P4. There's some talent there. And if you've got a coaching staff that can develop it and coach it up, you've got something there. You've got some guys that can actually make some things happen and play. Now, we kind of saw that a little bit. A perfect example was the running back Alton McCaskill last year, who had came from Arizona State. Now, he wasn't quite a freshman, but he had limited time. And when he got the ball, I mean, some okay things happened, you know, some okay things happened. And he was part of that, just get anybody class, right? But now they've got a lot more targeted players that they're bringing in. It actually is very exciting. They've got guys, they've got people from the big ranks. Again, we talked about Zion Taylor out of University of Houston. They got these guys. They've got Jarrett Anderson along the defensive line again, the Arizona transfer. They're really focusing those P4 guys along that front seven. Not just really the defensive line, but the linebackers as well. Look at Stacey Bay out of Arizona. Elijah Groves, another NC State guy. They're looking to bring these type of players in. It makes sense. The question becomes, will it work? A cynic is going to come and say that. And you all have followed us long enough, those of you all who've been here. I always try to give you balanced and unbiased analytics and breaking these things down, talking about the way I see it, right? So I'm not going to sit there and sunshine pump and say all these guys are going to be this high level and everything's going to be fine. But you have every reason as a fan to be excited about what's going on right now. You have every reason as a fan, specifically on defense, to be pretty excited about what is going on, right? It seems pretty interesting right now. Seems pretty interesting. I mean, even, and this just happened today, the corners, the secondary, dare I say, after Sam Houston finished last in every pass defense category in Conference USA, they look pretty decent. They signed Caesar McGee, who changed his name to Caesar McGee after the death of his father. I'd love to ask him about that, what led to that choice and what that meant to him. I would love to ask him more about that. He seems like a good guy. Just reading about him and kind of his story. I mean, they got him out of Northwestern State. He's probably the one I'm most excited about. Behind him is probably William Davis, the West Virginia guy. Now he was injured a lot of the year, but as far as Caesar is concerned, McGee, I like him a lot because he was pretty productive before he got hurt. He was an all Southland Conference as far as Phil Steele was concerned. He was able to do some of those things. That he's a pretty interesting player. So again, even there, and in the cornerbacks, in the secondary, the defensive back room, you've got another P4 guy, William Davis. Now he's not quite a freshman, but he's a senior, and like McGee, he's a senior who's looking to have that one last ride, maybe two, if they can squeeze out another year in the courts, whatever. But he's looking to prove himself and have one last ride. It's a lot more hunger. It's a lot more scrap. I cannot wait to see what this team looks like in the spring. I cannot wait to sneak out there to a couple of spring practices and see what's going to happen. That's going to be really, really cool to witness once we get here in a couple of months, man. How about this? Get in here and sound off. We're going to get to your comments here in a minute. Like I said, I just want to throw a few of these thoughts out at you, and then we're going to jump into your comments. How about the Sam Houston Wolfpack? Now, some of y'all think, blasphemy, we're the Bearcats. Two things, right? That's fine. Sam Houston Wolfpack. Look at how many transfers have come specifically from NC State. Look at how many of these guys have ties to North Carolina. That is nothing but your defensive coordinator, Freddie Autry-Lindsey, working those connections. If you're Freddie Autry-Lindsey, right? Now, he was a defensive coach at NC State there under Dave Doran. I'm sure he knew a lot of these players on the recruiting trail. He's had relationships with them. And when guys like the aforementioned Nicholas or Elijah Groves, the linebacker from NC State, or Justin Terrell from NC State, when those guys, they look around and aren't getting their playing time, Brock Stoops, even on the offensive linemen, they can go somewhere into the portal, and it must be nice to go somewhere where you know a player. I'm sorry, where you know a few of the coaches. And I talked about that in the newsletter this week. Go and look at the newsletter. The links are in the description. Go ahead and check out the latest newsletter this week. I talked about it. It's not just Freddie Autry-Lindsey that has these deep ties. It's also Damian Adams, your defensive line coach, Isaac Morig. They're both from North Carolina. They've got deep ties. Adams, he spent a decade. He was a coach at Campbell University out there going towards the central or western part of North Carolina. Now, some of you all have probably never even heard of Campbell University. The Campbell Camels. Let me tell you something about Campbell University. Nice little program, nice little intimate stuff right there. A little funky. Again, anyone, if you're in North Carolina, called the Campbell Camels, right? I knew somebody when I lived in North Carolina. I had a coworker that went to Campbell. She attended that. We went out and shot the game and everything. Nice little campus. Good people. A lot of real good people in North Carolina, right? That's where Damian Adams was for a decade, right? And then you got Isaac Morig, your defensive edges coach, your edges guy. He's a UNC grad. He's from Tarboro, North Carolina. And he's got deep ties as well. You know what I mean? Who else is from Tarboro? Some of you all know who else is from Tarboro. Todd Gurley. Who remembers Todd Gurley from Georgia and the early edition iteration of the Los Angeles Rams Part 2? He was their main player for a little bit. Remember Todd Gurley? He's from Tarboro as well, just like Isaac Morig. I've been through Tarboro also. I've shot a couple of Tarboro high school games. I've got to interview the Tarboro coach. A little town nestled there in the woods a little bit. Nestled there in the little wood valley and stuff. Great people. That's how you're getting all these North Carolina guys. So if you're sitting there wondering, how are we getting these players? How are we getting all these guys from this one location in one school? Well, that's how it is. They got a lot of freshmen on there who are seeking some playing time. And in the transfer portal era, you can do that. You can go somewhere else and try to get some playing time. So if you were thinking that, the transfer portal, well, that hurts. That's going to hurt Sam Houston. Not really. That's not really going to hurt them in the way that you think. Because, you're going to lose guys to bigger programs. And by the way, shout out to Aussie punter Curtis Gerard. He's at UCLA. Imagine that. You got 2 players from Sam Houston's roster that are going to be playing some Big Ten football next year. But I digress. But when those guys leave, you're also going to be able to bring them in. And if you've got a comprehensive plan, and it seems that Sam Houston does right now, you're going to make some things happen. How about some fresh football funding? You can go to my Twitter. I retweeted that. Sports of Sam Houston's been on this story. Cat fans as well. They're increasing their funds they're creating just separate funds just to keep and retain these athletes. That means football largely, right? I'm not sure how much of that money is. I'm not sure what the specific dollar figure. I've been reaching out to the school, trying to get in touch with Bobby Williams and some of them, trying to see kind of how that breakdown looks a little bit. But there's $100 million going to facility upgrades. There's going to be money going to the players to keep and retain them. Things are kind of, dare I say, turning around for Sam Houston. Now, to be sure, Conference USA perhaps has forced their hand on some of this. They have to commit to at least $8.5 million a year for revenue sharing for their athletics department, right? Conference USA has said that that was introduced at the end of last year. And a lot of us were wondering, how's Sam Houston going to cover that? Well, we're starting to have our answer. A little bit. Bobby Williams had a quote about that in a little press release and all of these things. So it's looking pretty good. What do you all think about this? What do you all think about this cohesive roster building that they're doing? Again, they're starting along the trenches, specifically the defensive line, the front 7 with the linebackers even. They're going and finding P4 freshmen who want some playing time, want to compete for that. You show out, you ball out here, you can go to another school, go to the next level. If you do, fine. We'll bring in some more guys just like you. If this plan works, that's what we're going to do. So what do y'all think about that? What do you think? Let's go to some comments here. Everyone doesn't have to hit this year, but someone will benefit the team for some will add benefit to the team. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not going to be an entire, it's not going to be this. Everyone's not going to do everything, right? Everyone's not going to be, oh my God, everybody hit. I mean, unless you're Indiana. I mean, now, hey, Kirk Cignetti, we're all about to settle in Monday in a few days and watch Indiana play. That was a team that pretty much all those transfers hit. But granted, a lot of those transfers that played at JMU with the coach that now came over. So that's a thing, right? But, it's cohesive. You feel a lot better about the approach, and that's a fair thing to say. Easily the best portal class. Oh, yeah. That's why I said portal class. I didn't say best overall class or best high school class. What about just the portal? I think this is the second or third cycle of the transfer portal, I believe. I cannot remember. It's been a couple of years now. So we kind of have some data on who Sam Houston has brought in. This is easily the best one. I think so. I'm glad you agree. Longo and company. Let's see here. Longo and company are more productive than KC. Whoa. That's big talk. Wow, look at this comment. What do we think about that? What do we think about that comment right there, guys? I'm going to take a sip of this St. Arnold real quick while y'all think about that. Now perhaps they are more productive in the portal, but all that really matters ultimately is going to be the results. Now, KC Keeler got Sam Houston to their first bowl game as a member of FBS, right? He delivered 10-win season, all these things. So we got to see. But, if you want to say in the portal they've been more active bringing in guys, okay, that's fair. And as an aside, by the way, some of you all doubted me a few months ago when people were calling for the heads of coaches and all of this and, doing the things that fans do. I'm not knocking it. Now, hey, I'm a Titans fan. I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. You're talking to a guy who's ready to fire the coach every year, right? So I'm not knocking it. But last year I did say some of y'all looked at me funny when I compared Phil Longo's first year to Steve Sarkisian's at Texas. Now, why did I do that? Steve Sarkisian and Phil Longo both got to their respective campuses way late. I remember it was New Year's Day. It was like 2021, I think. And they just walked in and said, yeah, we're getting rid of Tom Herman at Texas. Like, wow, really? Well, recruiting's done now. Who are you going to bring in? So it was Steve Sarkisian. And just like Longo, Sark kind of had to bring in whoever he could get. Now, you're University of Texas. Obviously, whoever you can get looks a lot different than whoever Sam Houston State can get. But the same principle applies, right? And as a result, Steve Sarkisian had some character issues. Now, we reported about how Sam Houston was dealing with a few knucklehead players. There was the Shane Porter incident, among others, right? Steve Sarkisian, I remember it was after the loss to Kansas, one of those teams that Texas should never lose to. And Bo Davis, the defensive line coach, who I would never want to make fun of or clown. I'd be too scared. He's like 10 times my size. I'm a smaller brother. I'm a slim brother. I would not want to do that. But those players, they thought it was funny to record him in his impassioned speech, imploring them to have some character. And they posted it and were chuckling in the back and clowning it. That showed the lack of character that the University of Texas football program had at that time. Similar to Sam Houston, you had Shane Porter, put on his Instagram was the worst decision ever to go to Sam. And, he was doing all this other stuff and leaking information, some of which, now granted, we verified it. Some of it was true, what he was saying. We verified it. But, when a locker room starts leaking stuff, that's a product of lack of character, right? And the same thing happened at University of Texas. So it took some time to get those guys out of there and cycle in the people that you really, really wanted. So that's finally starting to happen for Phil Longo. And I think the parallels are very, very interesting. I'll continue to die on that hill. What up, bro? What up? Sorry, I couldn't make it out to eat with y'all. Like I said, my car is totaled and I work remote. I'll take you all behind the curtain a bit. I work full time, but I recently started a remote job. Around the time I did that is when my car was totaled. Now, I don't know if it was a Stephen F. Austin alum that did that. I don't know if it's a University of Texas alum that did that because I'm personally an Aggie, right? But car's totaled. So instead of rushing to go get a new one, wifey and I kept the check. We're nest egging it, getting ready for our kids and family, all this stuff. I'm an unk. I know some of y'all are younger, but when you all, if one of you all is lucky enough to have a woman interact with and touch you one day, you'll have a family and you'll see that perspective, right? But sorry I wasn't able to go up there. I digress. I'm just BSing. I'm BSing y'all. Yep, Campbell Camels. Who else was it? Colt Dietrich, to answer this question. Who else was the other guy that ended up going to Washington? I believe that's who it was. Oh man, Sam Houston transfer. Let me make sure. I don't want to tell y'all the wrong thing. I wrote it in the newsletter, but it's just been so many guys coming in and out. Yeah, it was Colt Dietrich. Colt Dietrich ended up going to the unit, playing at the University of Washington. So you're going to have Curtis Gerard, the Aussie punter. He's going to be at UCLA, and Colt Dietrich is going to be at University of Washington, protecting Demond. Not Demond. Was it Demond Williams? Who's that kid? There's so many Demonds and Desmond. There's so many Williamses, but the Williams kid out there in Washington. I remember he was gonna leave and take a bigger paycheck for LSU after he had signed on with Washington, right? And but long story short, he and the coach ended up hugging it out, and legal reasons, he ended up coming back. And so Colt Dietrich is going to be up there protecting him. So how about that? You got two guys from Sam Houston's roster going to the Big Ten. Yep, you got that right there. Yep, Colt's going to the Huskies. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you guys for clearing that up. I'm just going down your comments, so I didn't see this response. Shout out to you guys. Washington, Huntsville, Washington should be nice. Let me tell you this. I want to respond to that. Now, I love East Texas. My family originates from Crockett, Texas, Palestine, Texas, and Crockett, Texas. So we deep East Texas all day. I've been going through East Texas all of my 36, soon to be 37 years of life, right? I've been going there a long time. So I love East Texas. But yes, Seattle is a much more nicer place. If I had my choice of where I would live, it'd probably be Seattle, Washington. You can live comfortably in either place. I'm taking Seattle. I went a few years ago. Beautiful city. Now, it does rain a lot. Around this time, it's going to rain, but their summers are beautiful, man. If you guys ever get a chance to go to Seattle, Washington, go. And if you ever get a chance to go see a game at the University of Washington, go check it out. It is beautiful. My goodness, that stadium they have is amazing. Oh, man, I got to go and see them play University of Montana. I paid $10 for the ticket. I paid $10 to go see University of Washington play Montana, and they lost the game. Hilarious, right? So there's that. I stand 10 toes for portal acquisitions. Everything else Keeler. Okay, yeah, we'll see. Let's see what we got here. Not to talk big. Keeler was an okay recruiter. So are we saying that Casey Keeler, great coach, not a great recruiter? Because Temple turned it around pretty easily. Not easily, but quickly, right? And they were supposed to go to a bowl game. If ESPN had allowed them like 5 minutes to talk to their freaking players about it, Temple would have been in the bowl game this year. So great coach, maybe not great recruiter. I don't know. I don't really, me personally as a college football observer, I judge on the results. And I mean, hey, Keeler had some strong results. He won you a national title. He won you a bowl game. So, hey, I'm not gonna go in too much on Keeler. What happened to Shane Porter? He ended up, just attitude problems. Attitude problems. He has a big social media following, I found out at the end of the year. And it turned out, maybe a little more worried about that. Maybe he wants to go be pretty boy social media influencer, which is fine. I'm not knocking it. Not knocking it. But and that's what Shane Porter was saying. He said that he posted on his Instagram, on an Instagram story, saying that worst decision ever to go to Sam Houston. And there was a report from Bro Bible that was talking about how maybe the offensive scheme was a little too simplistic, stuff like that. And when you read it, it's obvious that information had come from Shane Porter. It was obvious that information had come from him, right? Excuse me. Yeah. Caleb Black's another one. Excuse me. That ended up leaving. And we reported on that. You can go down to the newsletter about all the players that had left. William McCullum. There were a couple others. Keelan Cox. The funding wasn't quite there last year. Maybe some promises that weren't quite where they thought it would be. Here's what the coaches are saying and what they think and what the players think is two different things. That's why I'm always big on communication. It's like a relationship. When you're talking to a woman, be intentional, man. Be intentional. If you see her as Mrs. Right now, tell her that. Tell her that. She might not appreciate. She might say no and get mad, but she can respect it. You can respect honesty, right? Maybe there wasn't quite as much honesty there between the two parties, right? So it happens. It happens in these programs, right? I think Parker Livingstone, at University of Texas, that kind of happened. He ended up transferring out after he loved Texas. He said that he was forced out. University of Texas says that he was not. I think what happened there was they told him, hey, you can come back, but we're bringing in Hollywood Smothers. We're bringing in Cam Coleman from Auburn. All those big time plays you were getting from Arch Manning, those are probably going to go to some other guys. Right? Those are probably going to go to some other guys, right? So there's that, right? So that happens. That happens around college football. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so there was some of that. There was a little bit of that. Again, we can talk about being true to promises and things like that. What, like I said, there was probably, here's what we mean when we say that. Here's what the players think that means. That communication is off. I've worked in a lot of office buildings. I've worked in newsrooms. Before this, I was an on-air anchor. True story. Mississippi, the Delta, Greenville, Mississippi, where Oprah is from, where Morgan Freeman is from. I worked there. I worked in North Carolina, where Brandon Ingram grew up, in that part, in Kinston, who plays in the NBA now. Mike Hughes, who plays for the Falcons. I got to interview him a lot. He was the quarterback at his high school, in New Bern High School, right? And, when you work in these newsrooms, after that, I ended up working in offices. There's a lot of miscommunication between stuff, right? So you can go in there, go and look, go back in the archives of what we have, and you can find my article on that. I believe I linked the Bro Bible article in there. And notice I never really talk and say, oh, well, Phil Longo lied to the players. I never suggest that. I never say that, but I did call it a program in peril, because when there's miscommunication, that is a problem. I'm a comm major. That is the thing that brings down businesses more than anything else. Lack of communication, lack of telling people, hey, this is what it's going to be. A failure to get everybody on the same page. Now, does that make Phil Longo a bad person? No. But, we talked about at the top of this broadcast here, last year was really just rushing to get guys in because they had just started. And some of the communication probably got lost in that translation, right? So there's that. That's really what that is. And but we posted that in Cat Fans, and there were a few people upset with me about that. Anytime you report something adverse about a program people love, a lot of people aren't going to like that, right? But I verified my sources and talked with multiple different people, and that's what we came up with, right? So I saw text messages, all this sorts of stuff. So there's that. But like this comment says, like you say, shout out. It's easy to turn it around with money. I mean, again, if you don't believe that, look at Indiana. We are about to watch on Monday an Indiana program compete for a national championship after literally even our great grandparents don't even remember a good Indiana team. Instantly, there's money involved. You can pump money into this thing, into the players, and turn it around. In Indiana, at the end of last year, they were talking about making a big investment in football, and Sam Houston, obviously on a lower scale. Now, they're not in the Big Ten, but today's news that we talked about earlier, it sounds like they're going to put much more investment into this thing. And Phil Longo kind of alluded to that last year. Like, hey, we got some stuff coming towards this, right? We got some good stuff coming. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, a lot of nuance to that, right? A lot of good lie. Hey, we appreciate that. Gotta go. Let's see. Just gotta go. Just got to HEB. No doubt. Hey, give me some of them chicken egg rolls they got. If you go to HEB during the day, you can get them egg rolls. Man, they're so good. Right there in front of where they make the sushi, they got them egg rolls right there. Oh man, you get them right when they off. Don't tease me with a good time. Those egg rolls at HEB be incredible. But yeah, appreciate you all listening today. Appreciate you all. Go ahead and buy us a Cat's Coffee, man, at the Ko-fi. It's down there. The link is in the description. But you guys be safe. Take care. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the national title game. We'll see you all back here next week. Be blessed. All college football is good college football. This is the Bearkat Bites podcast. Take care.